So, my name is Chloe. That's Jack. And so we just thought, kind of with the crazy state of the world, why don't we sit down and have a chat about TV and and movies and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
guys, yeah, if you guys could just say your name and like if you're a sophomore or senior, that would be great.
Okay, I'm Clara. I am a junior this year.
My name is Vivian, and I am a sophomore this year.
I'm Gabi, and I'm a senior this year.
Um, Okay, so why don't we just start with telling us what your favorite streaming service is and why?
I use Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu. Normally I like to use Hulu. It kind of depends on what I'm doing, but I'll use Hulu if I'm like eating, doing chores around the house. Netflix I normally use for like documentaries or like one of like crime TV shows, things like that. Disney Plus I'll just use and I'm at night doing nothing, just wanting to watch Disney movies kind of thing. But I would say most of the time I use Hulu.
For me, I would say HBO. I feel like HBO, I think, is just more of I think it's kind of diverse, like the categories, and the shows are just more interesting, I guess.
I use Hulu the most. I've found that I've gradually found more and more shows on that streaming service to start watching. But I do still use Netflix. That one I usually watch more for a movie rather than lots of long series.
Awesome. So on the questionnaire I had you guys fill out, all three of you said you spend 5 to 10 hours per average watching on, which is I do the same. And my question is, are you guys actively like paying attention and sitting down at a TV and watching it for those 5 to 10 hours? Or are you guys having it in the background like I am?
Well, for me, sometimes during the day I'll use it as like a background because I don't know about you guys, but I get weirded out working in like completely quiet environments.
Mm-hmm.
So I like using it as a background noise during the day, but at night I will like watch Netflix like a movie when I'm sitting down ready to watch, like when my day's all finished kind of thing. But a lot of the times during the day I use it just as background noise.
No, I totally get what you mean. My brain goes like burr all the time. Like there's always there's like five things going on in there, and I feel like if I like what Clara says, like if I don't have background noise, it just feels like I'm in like a little horror movie and I'm gonna get stabbed.
Yeah.
So
Like
it's
if you're like working quietly and you just hear a noise, you're like, oh my god, and you're
right.
terrified.
Like, oh no. So I have to have something in the back, but I feel like it's more like on the weekdays where I have it as background noise, but on the weekends I kind of just binge a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I usually always sit down and watch what I want to watch. The main time that the TV's on, it's more background noise is when it's like the news is on. Usually when my dad gets home, he and my mom will sit down and watch the news, and our office is very near that room, so I've gotten used to having the news on, although sometimes there'll be like a top story that all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what are they talking about? And so I get annoyed because it's hard for me to focus back onto my homework, and I'm the exact opposite. I need it to be quiet. Otherwise, I either just lose focus or I'm less inclined to do the work.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't know. I love having something in the background and I'm not really paying attention to it. But like with the creation of Netflix, we hear more about like binging. And my mom always gets upset when I instantly want to watch like the next episode of a show because she's like, "Oh, you should wait a week." So, what do you guys think? Do you think being able to watch the next episode in a show like immediately, do you think that's a good thing, or does it ruin the fun out of watching something?
It's kind of both. Like, depending on the show, for me, I'll be really interested if I'm really interested in the show, like just like a crime show, like Criminal Minds or something. I'm like, oh my god, I need to watch this next episode right now, like ASAP. And my mom, depending on the show, like the show Dead to Me on Netflix, 100% recommend. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Great show. Me and my mom will binge that show until like 4 in the morning. We got through like both seasons in like one day. But if it's another show, like sometimes like cartoon shows, like Family Guy or something on Hulu, I could easily just like put myself to like stop to be like, I could watch this later. But it definitely depends on the show for me. But almost all the time I'm like, I have to watch this next episode right here, right now. Won't do anything. Can't even go to the bathroom. Have to watch it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the cliffhangers mostly because every time I start like a really good show, it's like, oh, someone's about to get murdered. I'm like, hello, and then it goes from one episode to like 5, and I'm like, whoa there. But I feel like it's also like the creators like know that we binge, especially like now with like in quarantine and like COVID, like more kids are more inclined to go watch Netflix than go outside. So they purposely like put in like really action-packed scenes before the end or a really big cliffhanger to keep us hooked.
Yeah, like in Umbrella Academy, I was watching that one. It's on Netflix. Also, 1 out of 10 or 11 out of 10 recommend. But I was watching that show, and my sister comes in and she's like, "You're still watching this?" And like 4 hours later, she comes back and she's like, "Clara, come on." So yeah, I agree with Vivian. It's just what they put in the show that makes you want to watch more and more and more.
I've certain shows all binge. Like I'm noticing my parents and I are starting to binge more of Schitt's Creek because they're only about 10 to 12 episodes per season, and I'm noticing we're going through a season a lot faster now because we're watching about 2 a night. But another show I'm really glad I can't binge is The Mandalorian because one episode comes out each week, and I'm glad I can't binge that one because so much happens in one episode that I wouldn't want to waste it all in one evening. My kind of strategy with quarantine is because also I am watching more TV because I'm tired at the end of the day, or with school I just want to not have to really think too much about it. But I found that I'm a book nerd. I read a lot, so I'll find a good book series that has definitely reduced the number of hours that I'm on the TV.
But I don't have self-control.
Me neither.
I don't even if it comes to books, like kind of what Gabby was saying, I could be reading a book, and if it's a series, I'll immediately start the next one because I get so interested.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't even have to just be TV.
Yeah, and there's nothing worse when you finish and then there's no more and you just want to rewatch it because it was so good and you ended up watching it in a day.
Like you finish a series and you're just like, now what we gonna do now?
That's my 7th grade Divergent phase where I read all the books and movies in the span of a month. It was so bad.
I love that. So, bringing it back to like quarantine, what have been some of your guys' like favorite TV shows or movies that you watched during quarantine?
Oh, well, if we're going by category, for Netflix, I've grown too attached to the Umbrella Academy, and I can't tell if it's because of the plot or if it's because Aidan Gallagher is so attractive to me, but I grew so attached to the Umbrella Academy. I've watched that at least like 4 times in quarantine.
And the music is so good too.
Oh yeah, you're right. And on Netflix as well, Dead to Me. I have managed to get so many people hooked on that TV show. I've gotten my mom, my sister, my dad, some friends. Like, I've just gotten so many people attached to that show. And on Hulu, my favorite thing to watch on Hulu is the movie Big Time Adolescence. And it's a kind of a lengthy movie, not really the most appropriate, but it's a really good movie to watch like in your free time or something. And Disney Plus, any classic Disney movie, I will just watch. Any classic Disney movie I would watch on Disney Plus.
For me, I think it's a little bit inappropriate, but I won't like mention anything about the show. I rewatched Euphoria like 3 times over quarantine.
I heard that was good.
So good. And then it was really bad during quarantine because every day I would actually watch a movie. And I would like have a whole list of like what I need to watch. And my plan was like to watch basically every movie on Netflix before quarantine ended. And it just became a really bad habit. So I don't remember like half of the shows I watched.
So obviously in the podcast, 1, I'm the book nerd. 2, based on some things I do, I'm considered an old grandma because I'm an only child. So I'm close with my parents, and that means I watch shows with them, and I also watch shows that they've seen that most kids would not be watching today. So like we started basically at the start of when the schools were all shut down. It's called NYPD Blue, and that's on Hulu.
Ooh,
and it's
good,
12
good
years.
Show.
Oh, thank
Good
you.
show.
Finally, someone knows what it is.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's 12 years, and it took us 6.5 months to get through it because we noticed we were starting to go too fast with it. So we started watching another show to slow it down. So I watched Breaking Bad.
That's a summer show. I'll watch that with my dad.
You guys have to see El Camino if you haven't. Yeah, that's the follow-up movie. But anyway, so we finally got that done in September. We're now watching Homeland, which would be also another old person.
Oh, my dad my dad watches that show more than he uses basic human needs.
Yeah. So we're watching that right now. We're watching Schitt's Creek. What else? One show I found out in 9th grade over Thanksgiving break is called Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's a comedy.
Oh my god! That show is so funny.
So good.
Well, that first year, we finished the series, and at the time they were still making like season 5. So my dad and I rewatched this series just nonstop. Like we didn't take a break at all. So for like a year, we continuously watched it, and oh my god, that show! I like know all the lines and. So we just watch that anytime, either if we're not in the mood to watch something we have to think about, I'll just stick that on because I need something familiar. That's with friends too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Captain Holt is my favorite.
I might actually talk now.
So
I've got 2 shows that I might mention. One of them is The Expanse, and that's on Amazon Prime Video. Has anyone ever heard of that?
I have not.
No.
Okay, so The Expanse is basically a space opera, which is basically just fancy talk for sci-fi with really long stories. It comes from a book series that's going to be 9 books long, and I finished 8 of them in 2 months, but we're not talking about that. But I believe it's releasing its 5th season soon, but from what I've heard, the TV series is really good. The books are also excellent, so read them, please. Otherwise, we also have an anime on Netflix called Be the Beginning. It's a thriller. Yes. I knew someone was going to talk.
Okay. With the topic of anime, like I binged so much that I think my list has gone from like 150 to 200 in a span of just quarantine, and then I think it's a problem.
I personally have never watched an anime series, but I'll see like those TikToks of the people doing cosplay, and I get hooked on those for hours of them just like doing their makeup or them just like acting like the character, and it's so like tempting to watch. I'm like, wow, that's like talent right there.
If you have any recommendations, hit me up.
I don't know. Anime is definitely not my forte, but I've always wanted to watch, like, I do Animal Crossing. So like the Studio Ghibli themed islands are so pretty, and I've wanted to get into that, but you know what? I'm taking honors chemistry. I don't have time to get into that.
Honors chem.
Ooh, okay. Back to the happy stuff. Yeah, I found Golden Girls. Golden Girls is great. I'm an old
I've heard of
person
that.
too. Okay. So, again with the streaming services, do you guys feel like you're sometimes like overwhelmed with the amount of choices? Like for me especially, I can scroll down on Netflix forever and there just seems like there's so much
Mhm.
and nothing I want to watch.
Like literally earlier today, I had to pull up a Netflix documentary for my marine bio. And I got like distracted and caught up on watching these like the trailer things that show up on the top. I was watching that for like 5 minutes, like so laser focused. And I was like, man, I have to watch that. But then I forget about the things I need to watch. So I'll be going through like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I'm like, this is lame. So I'll try to go on a different platform, a different source. And I just like, sometimes I'm like, man, they really need to up their game here. So, and it's kind of nice having multiple platforms because if one doesn't have what you want to watch, it's possible that it's on another. And then to find out that it's actually not. So you have to figure out what you want to watch. And I'm just like, oh, I should just take a nap. I'll deal with this later.
I think I have a similar problem as well, but I don't think I'm overwhelmed by the choices per se. I think I'm more overwhelmed by like, I'll start like 5 series at a time and I won't finish a single one until like 6 months later. And I think that's more my problem than anything.
I think the biggest problem I have is wanting to watch something, forgetting what it was, not being able to find it again, and then just go back to watching what I've already seen like 3 times.
I'll get lost like just scrolling through and searching through stuff. And then I'll realize, oh, I just spent like 20 minutes on Netflix just looking at what was on there. And previously, like I was watching a Friends, and then after episode ended, I was like, okay, I want to look up this movie. And then I'd start scrolling through everything, and then I realize like 20 minutes later, yeah, I'm not really in the mood to watch any more Friends or just be on the TV anymore because I'm sick of just scrolling and staring at something. I'm not as overwhelmed by the choices. It's more for me like, ooh, there's another list of stuff that I could scroll through real quick.
Yeah, I think I would say my absolute biggest problem is that I'll get too caught up in watching a show that I could start at like 11 in the morning and realize the time is like 5 o'clock and be like, man, I really got to stop now.
Yeah, like I got homework to do. So the downside, I think, with streaming services, you have to pay for them. So what do you think is too much? Like, what is the highest amount of money you would spend to get Netflix?
I think I wouldn't go higher than $10. Like, yes, I have like multiple platforms and they add up, but none of them are higher than $10. Like Netflix is like $6.99, Hulu is like $8. I don't even know how much Disney Plus is, but I don't think like any streaming device. I don't think you should have to pay like more than $10. And not only that, so many people use streaming devices that there's no point in making them a higher price because of how many people use them already.
Yeah.
I leech off of other people's screens. So that sounds like not my problem. Like, I'm so sorry that you pay like, I don't know, like $10+ for Hulu. Anyways, for that count. But I feel like a pushing limit, I feel like it should be less than 20. But that's unrealistic. So I feel like the more people use it, the more, you know, they're gonna charge more because it's more worth it. But I don't know. That's not my problem, unfortunately.
The max I'd be paying would be $15, and that would just mainly be for Hulu because I use it like 90% of the time. The other ones I would want it to be $10 or less. But for us, I think our TV or like, I don't know, that bill or whatever for using those streaming channels is relatively low for entertainment because we switched to basic cable. So we get mainly the news organizations and like 2 or 3 other ones. We get this really cheesy channel called Comet, and it has all these really lame movies. But we just use that for news mostly, or if there's like some new show that's going to be on ABC. But then we spend most of our time on streaming channels. So we've really cut our costs, because we used to have like Dish or Comcast and realized it really wasn't worth it for us to pay $200 a month for stuff we really didn't use.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only reason my mom still has cable and is still paying for cable is because of the election. So, yeah, other than that, the only things that we really use are the streaming devices. I don't even think we have a point for my family to use like cable other than until the election is over, because that's all we've been watching right now on cable.
Yeah, and jumping off that, I'll go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I think also in that there's like illegal websites. Like, not gonna snitch on anyone. There's a lot of illegal websites out there, you know.
Yeah, like there's one illegal website called MyFlixer. I don't use. I personally don't.
Censor this.
This is a school
but
thing.
I've heard people
Can't
use
have
it like
illegal.
crazy. And I know one person literally hacked, like jailbroke their Fire Stick to watch like streaming movies illegally and things like that. And I was like, well, maybe you should do that to mine. I don't know.
Come on. All right. Well, going back to the legal stuff, do you guys think with the increasing popularity in streaming services that cable TV is like going to be non-existent in the future?
I definitely feel like that's a possibility. I feel like if like some popular TV shows like SpongeBob or like things that are played on like Nickelodeon or something, like if that TV, like if that brand gets their own streaming device, like if like Disney Plus has already done it, like if Nickelodeon or something does it, they're going to be able to get their own streaming device, and not as many people are going to want to watch it on cable and have to pay for cable. Like some of like the crime shows have been put on Netflix, and some like horror shows have been put on Netflix, like the ghost catching ones, like Unsolved Mysteries, like things like that. If things like that keep continuing to get put on Netflix and stuff, there's without a doubt cable is just gonna be something of the past.
I definitely can see that, because in like recent years I've noticed is like our attention span, it has like decreased a lot. Because I mean, I like TikTok, so I feel like when I get an ad, even in YouTube, like I get so like mad. I'm just like, nope, next video. So I feel like cable, there's so many ads that people just don't want to, pay attention to that. So it causes people to even like lean towards like more streaming services.
Yeah, 100%.
Two things. So I'm kind of okay if cable were on the way out, but I am kind of down that VHS tapes used to be the big thing. And I don't mind not having it now, because our VHS player had this high squeaky pitched noise that would just play through the entire movie. And I put up with it as a kid, but now I would be like taking a sledgehammer to the VHS player. But then after VHS, we switched to DVD, and even DVDs are going out now. And just DVD players have gotten so incredibly cheap for it. One thing, this is kind of somewhat off topic, but one thing I'm kind of happy with streaming is that if you want to skip a scene, like some of them, when you skip ahead, it has, the little scene boxes so you can kind of see what's going on. Or some you can just hit like 30 seconds ahead. Whereas if it was like a DVD, you can't. You have to have the action go like super fast, so they're all like talking 100 miles an hour. But
and even on live TV, like you wouldn't be able to do that either.
Yeah, but I found I'm really happy that if we're watching more of an adult show, if you're skipping over a sex scene, you can see that coming and you skip over it. Whereas with old DVDs, it just goes like hyper speed. Sometimes
the amount of times I've had to do that. The amount of times. And even if you were watching like if you were watching a movie like that on cable, you would not be able to. You would have to sit there in pain for your eyes to have to watch it. So it's nice that you could do that on Netflix.
Yeah.
But then I'll get mad at my dad when he's trying to like skip ahead on either on both actually, because then he'll get way too far ahead. So he'll skip the scene we wanted to skip, but then we'll miss like half of the next scene. So I'm like, okay, go back. Well, then he puts us like right back in the middle of the sex scene or something. Like, no, that is just awful.
And on the streaming sites, you can see when it's over. So you can go and press when it's like the moment it's over.
Yeah.
You can't do that on cable.
No. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Were you moving on to something else, Chloe? Because I was going to stick on cable for a little bit longer.
Yeah, go ahead. Go.
Okay, then I'll do that. So I kind of had a question about streaming services, that kind of thing, because with cable, it used to be just like 5 channels, right? And then it grew into hundreds of channels.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of seeing the same thing with streaming right now, where at first it was just Netflix, but now we're getting more and more streaming services, all specialized with particular things. And so do you think that streaming could become the next cable?
100%. 100%. Because Disney Plus has already done it. They've already had their own, like they've already created their own. Next, and Hulu, whatever it's called, whatever it's called, already, they already did it. So if the channels are like, oh, we should do that, then people will pay to want to watch our shows. They could do that. Like Fox News literally already has like a streaming for their news. Like the more channels that think like, oh, well, if other channels are doing it, we should too. Like kind of like I said a few minutes ago, if Nickelodeon decided to like get their own streaming, 100% it can, like it will be the new cable. Like you won't even have to buy a cable anymore. Like some cable companies I know are like willing to pay their users to not leave. Like not too long ago, like about a year ago, my parents wanted to get rid of cable, and they were like, oh, well, if we give you like $100 for the year, you'll be able to pay less and blah, 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 like things like that, just to stay in business. So I think that some cable companies are already trying to bribe people into staying with them so that other channels don't become their own streaming.
I've noticed it getting a lot more of channels because I liked how since Netflix first came out, all the channels have started at really cheap, affordable prices. So I don't see it with more channels the price going up, because you'll notice the other channels, they keep their prices low. So if another one raised their prices, they're not going to survive, because either other channels carry the same movies, or people will just be like, oh, I can go a year without having to look at HBO or CNN, because MSNBC already has their news streaming. So I'm really glad that for once it's not getting slowly more expensive. It's actually staying relatively the same.
Okay, well, I think just to wrap it up, do you guys want to tell me like kind of pitch your favorite shows to us?
My favorite shows are either Family Guy or The Umbrella Academy. Movie, I would say, I don't even know. I don't even know what my favorite movie is because I watch so many. But I'd say my favorite movie is probably the Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn one. But those are like my top 3.
My favorite TV show would probably be Elite. Or like some random anime, but like that changes like weekly. But movie wise, same thing. I don't know. I think I watch way too much to remember any.
My favorite series would be Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Gilmore Girls. And then this is more of a like trilogy movies, but it's the newer Planet of the Apes trilogy. I don't know, I just get so hooked, and I think it's so cool how they slowly evolve into humans and So I'm like a totally Planet of the Apes nerd.
I think the saddest but my favorite movie I've ever seen is definitely The Art of Racing in the Rain. Such a good movie. So sad. I cried so hard, but so good.
Okay.
Well, I think if anyone else wants to bring anything else up, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for your guys' time.
Yeah, you're welcome. No worries.
De-stress. It's a very fun. I love avoiding my real problems.
Oh, my real problem is finishing Mrs. Galindo's camp homework.
Oh, yeah, there is that. Okay, well, thank you guys. You guys can leave now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.